Greetings, M Squared here. Today we are going to review graphing lines using our slope and y-intercept. I'm assuming you did this last year in 8th grade. So let's go over the steps. To graph a line using the slope and the y-intercept, we want to get the y alone on one side of the equation so that it's in slope-intercept form, like y equals mx plus b. Next, we're going to find the value of b, and we're going to graph the value of b on that y-axis because it's the y-intercept. Then starting at that point, starting at b, we're going to use our slope to find more points. Remember, slope is rise over run. It tells us the constant rate of change. After we make a few dots, we're going to connect the dots. Okay, so remember, before we used a table, and you can still use a table. It's a really good way to do it if you're going to. You know, you pick an x, you find a y. But I'd rather use this. But again, it's okay to use a table. You don't have to use this method, but this is the method I'm going to show you today. So first step, get y alone. So we're going to divide everything by 3, and that gets our y alone. And then it's important to know what b is and what our slope is. And I like to, especially when you're starting out, I like to put the slope as a fraction. So if it's not a fraction, I like to put a over 1 on it. So now we have these two pieces. So remember, our first step was to get y alone. Done. Next step was to find b, we found it, and to graph it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We have now graphed our b. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use our slope to graph some more points. So I need to remind you that for slope, right, if it's positive, you go up. If it's negative, you go down. The top number. If it's positive, you go right. If it's negative, you go left. The bottom number. So these, the top number and the bottom number, are both positive. So we are going to go up and right. So we're going to go up 2, right 1. So we're always starting, remember, we start at b, and we go up 2 over 1, and we make another dot on our graph. And then we go up 2 over 1, because in a line, the rate of change, the slope, stays the same. So we are going to graph that. And that is how we graph using the slope-intercept form. Let's do a few more. If you don't have this memorized, you probably want to get that memorized. So let's try this one. Okay, we will zoom in a little bit there. Is y alone? Because that's our first step. Y is not alone. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract. Sorry, I've got to do it on this side, not that side. We're going to subtract 4x from both sides. And when we do that, we get y equals negative 4x plus not 4. Shame on me. I was thinking ahead. Clearly, that's a 1 over there. My apologies. Okay, so plus 1. So our y-intercept is 1. So we're going to go second step, find and graph our y-intercept. Then remember, our slope was negative 4 over 1. The top is negative. The bottom is positive. Now, it's the same thing. You're going to get the same line if you were to graph up for left 1 as you do, and I'll show you, down for right 1. Those mean the same thing. When you have a negative out in front, you can really choose whether it goes with the numerator or denominator. Some people say, oh, well, I can't go down anymore. Well, that's okay. Up and right is the same as down and left, and I'll show you. So let's do this one first. So we're going to go down 4. We're going to go left 1. On this one, we're going to go up 4 and right 1. And although it's not the same point, you can see that it's on the same line. It didn't make a different line. So keep that in mind when you're graphing. You can choose where that negative goes. Or you can, you can choose. Let's leave it at that. Okay, y is alone, so we don't have to get y alone. Great. What's our y-intercept? Uh-oh, there's not one. Please always remember, when there's not one, it's kind of like a plus 0. It's kind of like if someone asks you how old you are. You don't say, I'm 14 plus 0. We just assume it's a plus 0. So remember, if it's not there, it's a plus 0. So that means 0 is right here. That's our y-intercept. And then our slope is positive 3 over 4. It means I'm going up 3, right 4. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And just like up and right, you can also go down and left, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That same rule applies to a positive one. It just means you need to make both of them negative, because remember, when you're dividing, and that's what a fraction is, it's dividing, two negatives make a positive. So down and left is the same line as up and right, as long as you have that same slope. Okay, two more. This one's not in the order mx plus b, so that can be tricky sometimes. Remember, it's the number that's in front of the x, that's the slope. So our slope is 3, and our y-intercept is 5. So the first thing I have to do is graph my y-intercept. So I'm going to go up 5, and I'm going to make a little dot. My slope is 3 over 1. So look, I can't go up and over. That means I have to go left, down and left, down and left. Sometimes that happens where your graph kind of stops and you can't go the direction you want to. So you have to remember that the other option, because there's two options. Okay, last one. Definitely need to get y alone here. We're going to divide everything by -8. And when we do that, we get, if we reduce this right here, 2/8 is the same as 1/4. And 16 divided by 8 is 2. It's a negative divided by negative, so that actually makes it a +2. So our y-intercept is right there, 2. Our slope is right here, so that's a down 1, right 4, down 1, right 4, or up 1, left 4. Either way works. We're going to connect the dots. And that's going to be it for us. That is how you graph a line using the slope and the intercept. Good luck. M squared signing out.